Hello, beautiful souls. This video is going to be quite different versus my other videos. I know I do readings and stuff like that. I still do readings. It's just I want to do something different here on my channel. But I wanted to come on here with you guys because I want to share a trilogy. I don't know if it's a trilogy, but I just want to share these books that help me open my mind more, have an open mind. And that helped me see a different perspective, not just a different perspective, but it's like when I read these books, it was like, that's everything I already knew. Like I already knew everything that is in here because I was like, oh my God, that's what I've been saying. That's what I've been talking about. But everybody around me doesn't see that, doesn't know that, or is not on the same page, vibration, whatever it is that you want to call it. They're just not there with me. So I'm like, I can't be the only one. So I was like, I'm going to start this. So I'm going to start reading some, I'm on book 3. But I already read book 1 and book 2. And what I love about these books is because it's a book where you're going to want to go back because it talks about so much facts. And you're like, oh my God, I wish I had somebody to have this conversation with and all this stuff. And like, I have a small circle and I have a conversation with him, but it's more of like, I want to reach other people. I want to see what other people think, what other people, you know what I mean? So it's called Conversations with God and Uncommon Dialogue, okay? And this, you can, how do I put this? You can put it on the God that you believe, basically. So it's like, if you believe that your God is a doorknob, envision, like think of it, that's a kind of God that you are communicating with. And you always use your discernment. Do you be like, I believe in this, I don't believe in this kind of thing. I always tell people, take what resonates with you, don't try to make it fit, kind of thing. But like this book took me a while to read because I stop and I process it and I ask myself questions in my mind, kind of thing. But like book 3, amazing. So this is Conversations with God and Uncommon Dialogue, book 1, Neil Donald Walsh. I believe that's how you say his name. So basically I just say he's a communicator. He's a messenger. Everybody is different. So like for me, for instance, when I tap in to receive messages for my clients that's sitting in front of me, I have a book and I guess it's called scribing, where this helps me clear my mind and I get messages coming in. And so like for this person, he sits here on his desk and he waits to see if he gets an answer from God. So basically he's asking questions that everybody's always been asking God, but never received an answer. But in reality, we've always received the answer. It's just we don't believe to listen to it or anything like that. So it's like, if you are interested in this, please go and get it. It's Conversations with God and Uncommon Dialogue, and it talks about so much stuff. So I don't know where I want to start. I don't know. I really don't know where I want to start. I should just start from the beginning, really. So it's like in spring of 92, it was around Easter, as I recall, an extraordinary phenomenon occurred in my life. God began to talk with you through me. Let me explain. I was very unhappy during that period, personally, professionally, and emotionally, and my life was feeling like a failure on all levels. As I'd been in the habit for years of writing my thoughts down in letters, which I usually never delivered, I picked up my trusty yellow legal pad and began pouring out my feelings. This time, rather than another letter to another person, I imagined to be victimizing me. I thought that I'd go straight to the source, straight to the greatest victimizer of them all. I decided to write a letter to God. And see right there, like everyone, we always go straight to blame God because we don't truly understand him. We only understand what has been taught, and that is to fear God But why should we fear God? Like, that's what I always questioned, especially growing up in religion. Me and religion and never mixed, because I would go into the building and I would listen to the word. I'd be like, yeah, you know, I'll feel the Holy Spirit. But then once we leave, like my dad wouldn't act accordingly to what we just did, but he expected me to, but he wouldn't. It was just a lot of, like, I just didn't understand it. And I just couldn't wrap my head around, like, why is God going to punish us for certain things we don't know? You know, and it was just like, we had to experience it to either know if it was good for us or bad for us, because we like to label things good and bad, but who are we to label them for other people? Because what's good and bad for me may not necessarily be good and bad for another person. And, you know, that's like morals, that, you know what I mean? Like, stuff like that. But if somebody doesn't agree with what I agree with, I don't just dismiss them or anything. I still have love for them. I understand them, like, because I was once there. I don't know how to explain it. But we always fall back to blaming everything on God. Like, where's God? Like, you know, but we forget, like, he gave us free will and he does not intervene, because we have to experience certain things so we know, like, hey, let me continue doing this, or hey, let me not continue doing this. And sometimes we continue to doing the bad, but it doesn't mean that we're a bad person. It just means that we haven't found a way out of that. We'll call it like a wheel, a mouse wheel or a hamster wheel, that we're still going on because we're used to that. That's what we were taught. Like, we were taught, like, oh, let's go on the hamster wheel because we can't be sitting here doing nothing all day. We should be doing something. But that hamster wheel needs to stop so you can hear yourself, you can hear your thoughts, you can feel yourself, you can feel your feelings and what resonates with you. And you want to like, as well, because thoughts and feelings are different. So you have a thought, but is it going with what you're truly feeling? If it does, I always listen to my feelings, honestly. But we always go to blame God when we really shouldn't. We just should learn from that experience, what we're experiencing. Okay, so let me keep on going. You see how like this can go totally off topic for me. I can keep on going and talking about other stuff. And so let me continue. It was a spiteful, passionate letter full of confusion, contortion, and condemnations. A pile of angry questions. Why wasn't my life working? What would it take to get it to work? Why could I not find happiness in relationships? Was there experience of adequate money going to elude me forever? Finally, what had I done to deserve a life of such continuing struggle? We always ask God, what have I done to do this? When we forget, we're the ones who can get ourselves out of whatever it is that we're in. And I'm going to continue. To my surprise, I scribed out the last of my bitter, unanswerable question and prepared to toss my pen aside. My hand remained poised over the paper as I held there for some invisible force. Abruptly, the pen began moving on its own. I had no idea what I was about to write, but an idea seemed to be coming, so I decided to flow with it. Out came. And so, like, there's different. So this is him, and then there's different writing down here. So it's basically God speaking. So whatever you consider God, you know, like I said, some people, it's a doorknob, it could be Allah, it can be Buddha. Those are considered gods, right? So I always be like, well, the God that I talk to and the God that I know, does it align with that? And so far it's like, yep. And it's okay to question yourself. And it's okay to question yourself. I call it question yourself because you're just trying to find that double confirmation for you so you can feel like, no, yeah, this is what I believe and this is what I don't believe, kind of thing. So what wrote back was an out came, do you really want an answer to all these questions, or are you just venting? I blinked, then my mind came up with a reply. I wrote down to both. I'm venting, sure, but these questions have answers. I'd sure as hell like to hear them. And like the guy, like I'll share with you, the guy kind of upsets me, and like it made me realize the reason why it upsets me, and I'll get to that point. So the guy kind of upsets me, the way that he's talking to God and the way that he's being like, tell me now, like demanding, and he's like so angry. But I realized like that was me, that was once me, and that's what I need to work on and understand. Like, yes, people, it's just ugliness that gets me, I guess you can say. People are being like, they always want to blame they want to blame others instead of, like, I don't want to say blaming yourself, but taking responsibility for what that you as a person have said, done, all that stuff. Regardless if it was a reaction out of something, you're only in control of you, what you say, and your actions, and how you project things. So, and I've learned that through my time of healing and throughout the years. But like it bugs me the way that this person, as he talks to God. And for me, I believe that God is a woman. And what's funny is, like, this book even confirms that, book three describes and comes into where the devil came from and where God and fearing God came from. And it was all man built because the man was intimidated by the woman because the women were in power. We'll get there. I'm telling you, these books are like... And I struggled with it in the beginning because it basically, when you go into these books and you're reading these books, you have to go in with an open mind, open heart, and you have to go in with, you don't know everything. Regardless if you feel you know everything about your beliefs and all that stuff, you have to go into it like, I don't know everything and I'm still searching and I want to know. Because it really messes with your head, especially if you're not there in a mentally good space. So God replies, you are sure as hell about a lot of things, but wouldn't it be nice to be sure as heaven? And I wrote, what is that supposed to mean? Before I knew it, I had begun a conversation and I was not writing so much as taking direction. Taking it. I don't know what that word is. I don't know. My bad. I'm going to be honest, to some of these words, I'm like, what is that word? I don't fucking know. Okay, and then this went on for 3 years. At the time, I had no idea where it was going. The answers to the question I was putting on paper came to me until the question was completely written. Oh, yeah. So the answers to the question I was putting on paper never came to me until the question was completely written and I put my own thoughts away. Often the answers came faster than I could write, and I found myself scribbling to keep up. When I became confused or lost the feeling that the words were coming from somewhere else, I put the pen down and walked away from the dialogue until again I felt inspired. Sorry that's the only word which truly fits, to return to the yellow legal pad and start transcribing again. The conversations are still going on as I write, and I'm much as of it found on the pages which follow, pages which contain an astounding dialogue, which at first I disbelieve, then assumed to be personal value, but which I now understand was meant for me, for more than just me. It was meant for you and everyone else who came to this material. For my questions are your questions. Yes, and I want you to get into this dialogue as soon as you can because they're really important. What's really important here is not my story, but yours. It is your life which brought you here. It is your personal experience to which this material has relevance. Otherwise, you would not be here with it right now. So let's enter this dialogue with a question I've been asking for a very long time. How does God talk and to whom? When I ask this question, here's the answer I've received. Are you ready for this? I love this one. It says, I talk to everyone all the time. The question is not to whom do I talk to, but who listens. Wow! You cannot tell me that is not powerful. And that is 100%. She is like he, she, whatever you want to call him, okay? God talks to everyone all the time. The question is not to whom do I talk, but who listens. And it is like, and that's where the struggle is right now with spirituality and people coming into it, because they're like, do I follow this nice voice? Or everyone can, once you go, there's no turning back. Like there is, but there isn't. It depends, but I mean, you'll be open to everything, but it is more of, the ones who listen are the ones that are taking that leap of faith, that belief, not only in thyself, but something else that they know that they cannot see, that they cannot perceive, that is not in front of them, but they have this feeling, they know it to be true, they hear it, and it's something that hasn't left their head, kind of thing. So there are some who choose to listen to the word, and there's some who do not. And yes, it can be very complicated, because some people will start listening, but then what they do is they'll tie it to their religious beliefs, or the beliefs that they've grown up with, which is fine, because I did that in the beginning. But the more I wanted to find myself and find God, the more, like, my one belief that broke down, and then I had another belief and that broke it down. So what I learned is, like, you cannot just stay on, like, this one belief. The only belief that you need is belief in thyself, and know that God is there, like, and that kind of belief. And when you do that, like, you're pretty, I don't want to say unstoppable, but it's just like nothing can break your spirit, nothing can break your soul. Because you've worked so hard. That's a whole nother conversation. And let me continue. It says, intrigued, I asked God to explain on this subject. Here's what God said. First, let me exchange the word talk with the word communicate. It's much better and much fuller, more accurate one. When we try to speak to each other, me to you and you to me, we are immediately constricted by the unbelievable limitation of words. For this reason, I do not communicate by words alone. In fact, rarely do I do so. Most common form of communication is through feeling. Feeling is the language of the soul. If you want to know what's true for you about something, look to how you're feeling about it. And I could have sworn I said that earlier. It says feelings are sometimes difficult to discover and often even more difficult to acknowledge. Yet hidden in your deepest feelings is your highest truth. The trick is to get to those feelings. I will show you how, again, if you wish. And that's that. See, and then it goes perfect to what I was saying earlier, because your thought and your feeling is something completely different. So, like, I can get a thought and be like, oh, a thought, but my soul will be like, okay, you can process that thought, but I really don't feel like taking an action to it. It doesn't align with me. So it's like, okay, it's a thought, next. Keep moving that thought process, keep letting it go and not holding it. The only time I hold it is if it's something that I truly feel inside and it resonates with me. And I've always gone, because, like, I'm a Pisces, so I've always gone with my feelings and how I feel, how a person's made me feel, all this stuff, because I came in tuned more into my feelings because of the way I grew up and how I grew up. I didn't grow up in safe environments. I didn't have safe, stable parents. So I was that one kid that was hushed in the corner, but since I was hushed in the corner, everything else heightened. So my feelings heightened, my senses heightened, because you shut down one thing. Oh, a butterfly! You shut down one thing. So say I shut down communication, right? I shut down communication. I shut that down. So everything else is going to, it's the butterfly I'm looking at. Everything else is going to be heightened. Say for instance, like someone who is blind, who cannot see, their hearing is heightened. Their sensation of feeling of energy in the room or someone's presence is heightened. And that's stuff that they had to work on. And those are senses, right? So like and how do I put this? And some people will see it as a disadvantage, but I see it, yes, I acknowledge it. Like, I feel your feelings. I understand what you're going through. But also, I see it as, from me, my perspective, I see it as an advantage. Because everybody else is going to go on with their life and not really depend on themselves and go inside and know who they are. Someone who cannot see, and this is not just someone who's blind, this goes for deaf people, this goes with someone who's missing a limb, this goes for anybody who is considered like a disability. When it's not a disability, it's actually an advantage. Because, and I've seen this too, ever since like I was little, I was just a different kid. I would see someone who was different from me. I wouldn't ask questions, I would just keep it in my mind. So someone, like, say if they only have one arm, right? I was that kid, like, I asked questions because I truly wanted to know, but I was taught, like, don't ask, don't stare, whatever. So what I would do is I would go home and put myself in their shoes, right? So I would tie my hand behind my back and only have one hand, because they have the advantage to stay home and work on that and to be like more flexible, use their foot. You know what I mean? They find themselves thinking outside the box. What else can I do? And regular people, you know, who don't have, like, I don't want to say who don't have shit going on, because we all have shit going on. But like regular people who are in that mode of wake up, work, like that kind of cycle, like wake up, work, clean, like matrix cycle. We'll call it the matrix cycle. Someone like that won't stop, won't get to know themselves, because they're like, no, I was born so I could work hard for everything that I have, and then I'm gonna die like tired, stressed, but at least I worked for, like, at least I got this and this and that kind of thing. But what people don't realize, they're like stressing themselves out, and they're not enjoying what they've made so far, kind of thing. But like for me, it's always, you know, those people have an advantage. And like during this 2020 coronavirus, some of us were spoken to and answered the calling to be like, okay, you know what? And we saw it as an advantage instead of a disadvantage. We took advantage of that time that we were in quarantine to work on ourselves, to come closer, not everybody, but like I can speak for myself. Like for me, I worked on myself. I became closer with my family, got to know them more. And like everything, and like we figured out what we like to do as a family, what we don't like to do. And also we were working on, hey, sometimes don't take it personal if I don't want to hang out with you sometimes, but that's just me time. We're basically relearning how we were relearning everything. I was like, but yeah, you see how I mean, like this book, and I'm barely going to be on the end of page 3, and there's like so much to talk about already. I love this freaking book, and because it opens up conversations, you know, but like conversations for people who shouldn't take things personally, who know to be like, oh yeah, that's what you believe, this is what I believe, this is what I got from it, kind of thing. But yeah. So let me keep on going. I told God that I did wish, but that right now I wished even more for a complete and full answer to my first questions. Here's what God said. I also communicate through thought. Thought and feelings are not the same. Let's see if I said it right. Let's see. And I haven't read this book since last year. Are not the same. In communicating with thought, I often use images and pictures. For this reason, thoughts are more effective than mere words as tools of communication. In addition to feelings and thoughts, I also use the vehicle of experience as a grand communicator. And finally, when feelings and thoughts and experience all fail, I use words. Words are really the least effective communicator. They are most open to misinterpretation, most often misunderstood. And why is that? It's because of what words are. Words are merely utterance, noise that stands for feelings, thoughts, and experience. They are symbols, sign, insignias. They are not truth. They are not the real things. Words may help you understand something. Experiences allow you to know. Yet there are some things you cannot experience, so I have given you other tools of knowing. And these are called feelings, and so too thoughts. So for instance, it's like to help you understand the experience. So for instance, basically we'll use the word empath to come into this, okay? And during my spiritual journey, I was trying to identify with these two, because I was like, oh, I'm gifted, I have this gift, but I wasn't welcome where mediums were welcome. I wasn't welcome with empaths. I wasn't welcome in each group, because I think they saw me more, I don't want to say as a threat, but more as a threat and competition when I'm just here trying to do the same thing as you guys. And isn't that give love and light, raise the vibration, let people know, let people know they can heal themselves. Yes, I'm a healer. You're coming to me, but I am giving you this. I'm giving you this to show you, to let you know this is what worked for me. You feel connected to me? Let me let you know what worked for me, because it may work for you, because we have that connection. Right? And sorry, I forgot. So it's more, that's where I was at. So it's more of, so I don't know what it's like to lose a child, but I'm so in tune with my emotions and feelings and other people's. Like if I sit there with someone, I'll be able to experience the feeling of the mother of losing a child, because I am there with them. I am connecting with them. I feel their feelings, but I can come out of that and be like, oh, because I know I won't experience that. And so I am getting that experience through someone else, especially someone who's so emotionally in tune with the emotions, and who's so caring and has a big heart. Like I would sit there and I would feel that, but then I would realize, okay, those are not my feelings. Those are her feelings. I didn't experience that in my real life. In my present moment now, this is what's going on. I have to always talk myself down to be like, hey, that's not reality, because I can get caught up in other people's feelings and emotions because I want them to feel better, kind of thing. So let's keep on going. It says, words may help you understand something. Experience allows you to know. Yet there are some things you cannot experience. Okay, I already read that. Now the supreme irony here is that you have all placed so much importance. Here it goes. So much importance on the word of God and so little on the experience. In fact, you place so little value on experience that when what you experience of God differs from what you've heard of God, you automatically discard the experience and own the words, when it should be the other way around. Your experience and your feelings about a thing represent what you factually and intuitively know about that thing. Words can only seek to symbolize what you know and can often confuse what you know. So let me read that again. Words can only seek to symbolize what you know and often confused what you know. These then are the tools with which I communicate, yet they are not the methods, for not all feelings, not all thoughts, not all experiences, and not all words are from me. Many words have been uttered by others in my name. Many thoughts and many feelings have been sponsored by causes not of my direct creation. Many experiences result from these. The challenge is one of discernment. The difficulty is knowing the difference between messages from God and data from other sources. Discernment is a simple matter with the application of the basic rules. Mine is always your highest thought, your clearest word, your grandest feeling. Anything less is from another source. Okay, let me repeat that. She said, mine is always your highest thought, highest positive thought of love, of joy, right? Your clearest word, something that you can hear so crystal clear and it won't leave your soul. It won't leave you. You're like, nah, I know this is something you feel. And then it goes to your grandest feeling, because then it goes to a feeling, no, this is something I feel. I have to get this out there. Anything less is from another source. So basically, like chisme, we'll just call it chisme. Anything less is from another source. Now, it's not saying that source is a bad source, but there are other sources around here that are tricksters, right? There's trickster spirits who haven't moved forward. Things like that also people could tap into. Not saying that it's bad, but you have to know the difference between the two and not get caught up. I don't know why, but something's telling me to scribble and not get caught up with with the drama, with the achievement. And the only reason why I say that is because sometimes I tap into that, but then I come right back out because I'm like, oh, that has nothing to do with it. In reality, this is how I know that they can fix it. Not by going into the achievement, but what I do is I try to figure out a solution better than anything. So I'll let them know what's going on. So it's like when I know someone around them isn't good, I never tell them the person. I give them the tools so they know how to defer and how to use their discernment. And, you know, all I do is describe the energy that's around them and how the person acts, but it's up to them to figure it out and to see what they want to do with it. Kind of thing. But yeah, okay, let me go back to this. And it's from another source. Now the task of differentiation becomes easy. So now the task between to tell the two is easy. For it should not be difficult even for the beginning student to identify the highest, the clearest, and the grandest. Yet will I give you these guidelines. The highest thought is always that thought which contains joy. Oh, see, I saw that. The clearest words are those words which contain truth. The grandest feeling is that the feeling which you call love. Joy, truth, and love. And those are the biggest ones: joy, truth, and love. So when something comes from joy, you'll get that feeling of the truth, and you'll know it's the truth because it comes of love. You know, it's a feeling of love. And those are the big three, you know. So it's like they talk about love is the highest vibration. It is one of the highest vibrations, but the highest vibration that one can be on and one can experience is not only just love, but also truth. When you speak your truth. And that's not like speaking truth like, oh, this person said this and this. No, it's by being truthful with yourself. So, and you know, we should normalize talking to ourselves, because I fucking talk to myself all the time. So before I even say something, I ask myself, is that coming from a place of love or judgment? If it's coming from a place of judgment, why are you judging this person? What's going on in your life that you need to bring attention to? And I go through all that, and if I'm good, then I know, hey, that's not my ego. That's not something that is a message coming through and what I'm picking up. Especially if everything's good on my end, but I'm like, but I'm not shaking this feeling, then I know I'm picking up someone else's kind of thing. But it's more of joy, truth, and love. I'll keep on going. These three are interchangeable, and one always leads to the other. It matters not in which order they are placed. Having these guidelines determine which messages are mine and which have come from another source. The only question remaining is whether my messages will be heeded. Most of my messages are not. Some because they seem too good to be true. Others because they seem too difficult to follow. Many because they are simply misunderstood. Most because they are not received. My most powerful messenger is experience, and even this you ignore. Especially this you ignore. Your world would not be in its present condition where you have to simply listen to your experience. The result of your not listening to your experience is that you keep reliving it over and over again. For my purpose will not be thwarted, nor my will be ignored. You will get the message sooner or later. I will not force you to, however, I will never coerce you, for I have given you a free will, the power to do as you choose, and I will never take that away from you, ever. So for me, what I picked up from that is more of, if he comes to you and he gives you a message and you don't follow it, it doesn't mean he's going to love you any less. He or she's going to love you any less. It just means like they continue. How do I put this? Say, for instance, God comes to you and says, hey, I need you to see that you're in a really toxic relationship, and I need you to do the hardest thing ever, and that's leave. And that's leave. You have the free will to either receive the message that came through and do something about it, or receive the message and be aware of it and be like, okay, maybe I can work through it. Okay. So that's what it means. Like, some people, he talks to everyone, but some people will just stay, or some people will leave. And somebody who, like for me, for instance, I'll use myself. I got the message and I was like, you know what? I have nothing to lose. So I heard the message, I received the message, I ended my relationship. And it was hard because, you know, I developed the codependency, like all that shit, right? And I had to heal from, like, healing takes a very long time, but we forget to live our life and to live in the present moment and only do healing as it comes. But I can get to that on another time. But yeah, so it's a free will. You can do what you want. Doesn't mean God's going to love you any less, or he loves the people more who answers his prayer, like who answers the calling, basically. I'll continue. And so I will continue sending you the same messages over and over again throughout the millennia, and to whatever corner of the universe you occupy. Endlessly will I send you my messages until you have received them and held them close, calling them your own. Woo! I'm telling you, this book is someone. Oh, I'm already at. Okay, I'm gonna have to stop soon because, like, I have to upload it to my computer. I'll do all that stuff. But if you are still here with me, thank you so much. I appreciate you and I love you so much. And I hope that you go and get this book and read it for yourself and have it in your collection to go back to it. Because I know that's why I'm keeping mine. And I have a lot of tabs on mine because those are great conversation starters, topics, whatever. These were valuable to me. And yeah, there's a lot of them. But I just want to say thank you so much. I'm sending you so much love and light. And if you're here, I know that you're on your journey. And I know you're here for a reason. And just know, like, if you're barely starting your journey, it is hard. It is lonely. And it is true that sometimes you have to kind of be alone. And you are going to lose a lot of people. You're not going to lose them forever, but it's just because they're no longer aligned with you, and you have to be okay being alone. So there's, like, certain stuff you got to work on before that happens. But thank you for continuing to be here, and I hope you come back because I would love to continue to. I'm going to continue to do this and talk about this and read this and everything because, yeah. Okay, I'm going to continue. And God says, my messages will come in 100 forms at 1,000 moments across 1,000,000 years. You cannot miss them if you truly listen. You cannot ignore them once truly heard. Thus will our communication begin in earnest. For in the past you have only talked to me, praying to me, interceding with me, beseeching me. Yet now can I talk back to you even as I'm doing here. And Neil goes, how can I know this communication is from God? How do I know this is not my own imagination? What would be the difference? Do you not see that I could just as easily work through your imagination as anything else? I will bring you the exact right thoughts, words, or feelings at any given moment, suited precisely to the purpose at hand. Using one device or several. You will know these words are from me because you, of your own accord, have never spoken so clearly. Had you already spoken so clearly on these questions, you would not be asking them. And you see, when I read God's part, I feel it. I feel it down here. I feel it. And I'm just like, oh, yes, speak. And what I like too is, like, I don't know if you can feel it through here or not when I read it, but I can feel God. I can feel God. I can feel the energy. I'm like, yes. And it's so loving. And I'm just like, oh. So let me continue. To whom does God communicate? Are there special people? Are there special times? And I know everybody's been wanting to know this question, right? And I've always said we're all special. It's just like he said, like the said in the beginning, it depends on who wants to listen. Everyone hears me, but who wants to listen? I think that was something like that, right? It was something like that. Yeah. I talk to everyone all the time. The question is not to whom I talk, but who listens. Ugh. Yes. So it says, all people are special and all moments are golden. There is no person and there is no one time one more special than the other. Many people choose to believe that God communicates in special ways and only with special people. This removes the mass of people from responsibility from hearing my message, much less receiving it, which in another matter. It allows them to take someone else's word for everything. You don't have to listen to me, for you already decided that others have heard from me on every subject, and you have them to listen to. Ooh! By listening to what other people think they heard me say, you don't have to think at all. And that is so true, because it's like, oh, you already thought it for me and you're already preaching me the word, but I haven't sat here and sit with what you said to see if I see it to be true or not. Ooh, and it says by listening to what other people think they heard me say, you don't have to think at all. This is the biggest reason for most people turning from my message on a personal level. If you acknowledge that you are receiving my messages directly, then you are responsible for interpreting them. It is far safer and much easier to accept the interpretation of others, even those who have lived 2,000 years ago, then seek to interpret the message you may very well be receiving in this moment now. Yet I invite you to a new form of communication with God, a two-way communication. In truth, it is you who have invited me, for I have come to you in this form right now to answer your call. Boom. But yet we are brought up to think we're not really talking to God. So it's like, what is it that you truly want? You really want to talk and communicate with God, then it's okay to like the ego's going to come in to be like, oh, you're not really talking to him. And it's going to be hard, but you're going to have to fight those thoughts. You're going to have to fight that mentality. But it's like you ask God and it's ask and you shall receive. And when you receive, you don't believe it because it's not in a physical form. It's in a form of that you cannot explain, you cannot see. And if you explain it to another person that you know isn't on your level, they're going to question you and think you're crazy, kind of thing. But when there are people out there who receive the same message, but we're like, I don't want to say we because I'm not part of that, but there are some people who are scared to talk about it because they're like, am I receiving the same message? Everybody can be receiving the same messages, but interpreting it in a different way to help other people understand. So I can receive a message and some people may understand it, but then another person has received my message and they dissect it into what they understood, and then they help and explain it their way for their crowd, if that makes sense. I know the right people are going to understand. But yeah, I was like, okay, I was seeing if anything else was coming through. And it says, why do some people take Christ, for example, seem to hear more of your communication than others? Because some people are willing to actually listen. They are willing to hear. They are willing to remain open to the communication even when it seems scary or crazy or downright wrong. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And I feel like there's a lot of you out there who can relate to that, because for me, it seems scary because when I would share with what I know, other people around me deemed me fucking crazy. Okay, they're like, oh, she's crazy. She thinks she could read people. And I thought it was just a party trick growing up. I was like, oh, this is a party trick. You want to know something cool that I can do? I could read people. And I would just show them, and there'd be like, some people would be open to it and some people wouldn't. Because what I would read people is their hurt, their truth, their pain, their trauma. And some people weren't ready for that. So they'll be like, oh, she thinks she knows everything. And it's just like, oh, my bad. You could just say, hey, let's not talk about that kind of thing, you know? How was I supposed to know? I didn't know. I thought it was a party trick, but here, along and behold, it's just a gift that we all have. But I just chose to listen to it. I chose to believe it. I chose Because growing up, it was just me. Even though I had my parents, my mom was a drug addict and my dad was an alcoholic. My dad raised me from the ages 2 to 9. And then from 9 to like 12, I was back and forth with my mom and dad, kind of thing. But I was always alone. Like, I didn't grow up, I have siblings, I didn't grow up with them. So when I came in contact, when I got to know them, I wasn't in their bond, I wasn't in their circle because I didn't grow up with them. I was like the redheaded stepchild, in a way. And before, when I was younger, I saw that as, you know, don't get me wrong, it was sad and it was hard, but I also thank them for treating me that way, because I wouldn't be who I am today. I wouldn't have the gift that I have today. I wouldn't be so in tune with myself how I am today. I wouldn't know who I am. I wouldn't know my voice, and I wouldn't know God's voice. You know what I mean? Like, before I'd be like, fuck that, like, you know, but now I'm just like, thank you so much, because I see it as an advantage versus a disadvantage, kind of thing. But, you know, I'll be like, oh my God, this doesn't sound right. This sounds so fucking crazy. But there are some who are like, I don't fucking care. I'm gonna put this out there if I sound crazy or not, kind of thing. And I love those people. Thank you for those people, you know. But yeah, let's continue. It says, we should listen to God even when it's or even what's being said seems wrong. Especially when it seems wrong. If you think you are right about everything, if you think you're right about everything, then who needs to talk to God? Go ahead and act on all that you know, but notice that you've all been doing that since time began. And look at what shape the world is in. Clearly, you've missed something. Obviously, there's something you don't understand. That which you do understand must seem right to you, because right is the term you use to... designate. I'm like, what is that word? Right is the right term you use to designate something with which you agree. What you've missed will therefore appear at first to be wrong. The only way to move forward on this is to ask yourself, what would happen if everything I thought was wrong? What was actually right? Every great scientist knows about this. When that scientist does, it is not working. When a scientist is not working, a scientist sets aside all of the assumptions and starts over. All great discoveries have been made from a willingness and ability to not be right. And that's what is needed here. And what's just crazy is I feel like now scientists are like, I'm right. But, but were you right before? No, you weren't. Like, I don't know. Anyway, that's besides the point. It says, you cannot know God until you've stopped telling yourself that you already know God. You cannot hear God until you stop thinking that you've already heard God. You cannot tell my truth until you stop telling me yours. Or I cannot tell you my truth until you stop telling me yours. And the guy goes, but my truth about God comes from you. And God says, who said so? He says, others. God replies, what others? And he says, leaders, ministers, rabbis, priests, books, the Bible, for heaven's sake. God says, those are not authoritative sources. And he replies, they aren't? God says, no. He asks, what is then? God says, listen to your feelings, listen to your highest thought, listen to your experience. Whenever any of these differ from what you've been told by your teachers or read in your book, forget the words. Words are the least reliable of truth. There is so much I want to tell. And then it goes back to the guy. It says, there's so much I want to say to you, so much I want to ask. I don't know where to begin. For instance, why is that you do not reveal yourself? If there really is a God and you are it, why do you not reveal yourself in a way we can all understand? Ooh, I love this part. And he says, I have done so over and over. And God says, I have done so over and over. I am doing so again right now. And the guy goes, no, I mean by a method of revelation that is incontrovertible, that cannot be denied. God asks, such as? And he says, such as appearing right now before my eyes. God says, I'm doing so right now. And he goes, where? And God goes, everywhere you look. And the guy goes, no, I mean in a way no one could deny. What would that be? In what form or shape would you have me appear? And he goes, in a form or shape that you actually have. God answers, that would be impossible, for I have no form or shape you understand. I could adapt a form or shape that you could understand, but then everyone would assume that what they have seen is the one and only form and shape of God, rather than a form or shape of God, one of many. People believe I am what they see me as, rather than what they do not see me. But I am the great unseen, not what I cause myself to be in any particular moment. In sense, I am what I am not. It is form of I am notness. That I come, and to it I always return. Yet when I come in one particular form or another, a form in which I think people can understand me, people assign me that form forevermore. And should I come in any other form to any other people, the first say I did not appear to the second, because I did not look to the second as I did the first, nor say the same thing, so how could it have been me? You see, then, it matters not in what form or in what manner I reveal myself. Whatever manner I choose and whatever form I take, none will be incontrovertible. Incontrovertible, something like that. I'm not the best reader. I'm really not. So I apologize. Well, where are we at with time? Ooh, it's already 50 minutes. Thank you guys for being here again. I wanted to talk about this book, and then after I talk about this book, I'm actually going to be recording another video, reading the energy, doing a card read, see what comes through, all of that stuff. So if you would like that, stick around stick around, and if that video comes up, click that video. It's also in the description down below, the link to that, if you want to watch that. But yeah, okay, I'm gonna keep on going. And it says, but if you did something that would evidence the truth of who you are beyond doubt or question. And God says, there are still those who would say it is of the devil, or simply someone's imagination, or any cause other than me. If I revealed myself as God Almighty, King of heaven and earth, and moved mountains to prove it, there are those who would say it must have been Satan. And that is so true. So true. There's always that is Satan. That's the work of Satan. It was so funny. Any work of truth, joy, like anything that someone comes there, they're always going to say that's the work of Satan. But there ain't no such thing as fucking Satan. There's no such thing as the devil. Okay? Heaven is here on earth. We just got to learn how to get out of the devil, like the hell. The hell is our brain, and it is the cycles that we're in. And if not, then that's the hell we go to. And when we leave this earth, we come back to it because we didn't change it when we became aware of it. We decided to stay the same. But if we change it when we become aware of it, then the next life is completely different. It's like a progression, more and more and more, because we don't. Our avatar dies, but not our soul. So some of us who are aware and awake in this lifetime, and we end this lifetime and we go into a new, we are definitely going to be awake and conscious there, because we worked so hard this lifetime and we're like, I'm not going to lose it the next lifetime. But even if, like, say if that does occur, you'll get there even faster, kind of thing. And I'm going to continue to go. And such is as it should be, for God does not reveal God's self to God's self from or through outward observation, but through inward experience. And when inward experience has revealed God's self, outward observation is not necessary. And if outward observation is necessary, inward experience is not possible. If then revelation is requested, it cannot be hard, for the act of asking is a statement that it is not there, that nothing of God is now being revealed. Such a statement produces the experience, for your thought about something is creative, and your word is productive, and your thought and your word together are magnificently effective in giving birth to your reality. Therefore, you shall experience what God is not now revealed, for if God were, you would not ask God to be. Then the guy goes, does that mean I cannot ask for anything I want? Are you saying that praying for something actually pushes it away from us? And I feel like I'm going to stop there, and then I'm going to leave you with that question and what you think that answer would be. May you go look up the book, buy the book, and read it yourself. Good. I'm so excited that we have something to talk about. But if you want to wait and have a little bit of homework and see what your answer is, or what would be like could be a form of you tapping into. And by sitting there asking yourself, does that mean I cannot ask for anything I want? Or are you saying that praying for something actually pushes it away from us? So I'd love to see what you think, or what you feel and your perspective is from that. And, I'm open to all perspectives. There's one thing I'm open to. There's a difference between someone else's perspective and someone else telling you that it's right, their perspective is right, kind of thing, because it's just certain words people use that would give it all away. We tell on ourselves with words. But that's okay with you. I'm going to end that right there, and then we're going to pick it up again with another video to come back to it. And you go back and ask yourself and sit with these questions, and see but whatnot. But I'm about to get ready to do a card energy read, and whatever what it is that we need to hear at this moment, at this time. But thank you so much. Hold on. Writing a little. Thank you so much for being here. I love you guys. And if you want to check out my services, everything will be in the description below. And if you want to know the prices, you can DM me on Instagram, and I will reach to you that way as well. I love you guys so much. Have a wonderful, blessed day. Until next time.